Welcome to another episode of Mr. Therapist and the Counselor Podcast, where we discuss mental health and recovery topics. And our mission is to provide conversations that's authentic, raw, and real to demystify the process of therapy. Jesse O.
This week on the episode, we talk about, can I graduate, right?
Yeah. Did you read the script?
I did. I came up with the idea, actually.
Talk about graduation,
That's
baby.
Right. The post-graduation blues, baby.
Yeah. Please make sure you
Minus the
subscribe to the channel.
Make sure you subscribe to the channel.
Just click that thing, man. And,
It's the button.
Yeah. And we're submitting some questions, too. So submit your questions if you have any, or let us know how we're doing. Give us some feedback. We want to reach more people. We want to impact this mental health field, and I think we're doing a good job at it, staying consistent. So we need your help to share the show, please. That's right.
Here we go. This is it.
This is it. Jesse, what's up, man? What you got today, buddy?
Man.
This is awesome, right? You're so happy.
I am so happy.
Yeah. Actually, you're kind of... What's going on, dude? You look a little bummed. You okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
You can talk to me, homie.
Can I talk to you about when people flake on you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Sometimes it happens in life.
That's okay.
Sometimes you plan something and, you hope that people will just be there.
Yeah.
Like my dad. Or maybe a guest. But, things happen in the field, in the addiction, recovery, mental health, podcast world.
Yeah.
But we just bounce back.
We do bounce back.
Yeah.
And, hey, people, people have things going on, right?
We are recording at a weird, different time for us.
Yeah.
We have kind of a set schedule. I might have dropped a little hint of when we record.
Yeah.
It's usually a certain day of the week. I'll just give it away for those listening right now. It's Saturdays. We usually record on Saturdays. But this is a special Thursday evening podcast.
That's right.
To where I was in the car and I chugged the Red Bull.
At 12 p.m.
Which Manny said to me, I hope you didn't chug a Red Bull before you came in here, which I did.
You did.
Didn't want to disappoint. But no, we're here on
But you're quarantining right now, right? Don't you have COVID right now? Isn't that something you
I did not
have
it. I got COVID again. Second time? How many times have you had COVID?
I had it probably, I don't know. I mean, I probably had it twice.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Do you mix that up with Montezuma's Revenge?
What?
I'm sorry.
What?
You know what Montezuma's Revenge
No,
is?
explain
I think
it
it's
to
when
me.
white people go to Mexico and they eat something bad and they get really sick.
Wait,
You
what?
would never suffer from that.
No, I wouldn't.
Because you always have a parasite in you.
What?
Because that's your culture.
Oh, my Lord. You are digging yourself a deeper hole here.
I know. How you doing, man?
How am I supposed to respond to that?
You don't, please. Just continue on.
I'm doing good, man. Are we checking in right now?
What's the saying?
Oh,
come on, bro, set me up.
You set me. You brought it to me right now. So.
Well, I forget the.
How you showing up today, bud?
How am I showing up today?
Yeah.
A little disappointed, but most definitely we're gonna talk a little bit during our topic today about graduation.
Yeah. Graduation's coming up.
Expectations versus reality, right?
Yeah.
So had an expectation, disappointed, but my reality is. It's life.
Yeah.
And really, it hasn't shook me too much. But no, also, I told you I was coming off COVID. It was a tough week because my wife made me quarantine. Yeah. So I got a little depressed at times.
Fire COVID, dude.
It was nice. I got to watch Dune 2 finally.
Oh,
I watched it. It was on my TV.
Good?
Yeah, I liked it. It was good. I also watched Oppenheimer.
Ooh.
I watched some movies, basically, very long movies, but I had the time. I was like, "What else am I gonna do?" I'm kind of by myself. So it was. I was kind of. Well, I was bummed the most is I just couldn't pick up my daughter, and that sucks when you see your daughter in the hall, and she's like, "Dad, sick," and I'm like, and she goes, "Hold me," and I'm like, "Oh,
yeah,
I would love to right now." So,
your daughter started daycare this week, dude. That's been hard on you, right?
We're gonna talk about that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I would like to process that, but I need to sit on those feelings a little bit because that really was like
that just happened.
Yes, that happened today, and it was a very emotionally draining day. But I'm gonna bring that up.
And that's one thing when you're talking about like yourself and what you're going through. It's okay to not like be ready to talk about something, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
That's a part of this.
Yeah. So
I love that.
Yeah. So how are you checking in today?
How am I checking in? I'm a little frustrated, but it's kind of the same thing that happened, just like kind of being stood up a little bit. But I understand things happen. Things happen for a reason. And I feel like I have a lot of energy. I think maybe I was just like, excited with the anticipation of what we're about to do. But I feel good overall. Did you feel like I was moody today? Like I was a little moody in the beginning.
You mean you're acting like a straight bitch?
Yeah.
No, you weren't. I think you were good.
You called me a bitch like 3 times though. Yeah.
No, I don't think you were moody. I didn't pick up on that at all.
I felt like I was being a little moody. So.
No.
But anyway, but yeah, I'm good. I'm here with you, my man.
Did I touch the cord? I already touched it like
good.
3 or 4 times.
You're good. Why are we so self-conscious right now?
No, but we talked about me touching the microphone.
Don't touch
awkwardly.
the cord, dog.
Yeah, so.
But I like doing this with you, bro.
Yeah, I like doing this with you too.
Thought I was the one from Mexico. I like doing this with you too.
Have you seen that End of Watch? Have you seen that movie?
That sounds so familiar.
We're like the Jake Gyllenhaal and Michael Pena of podcasts.
You said I don't look like Michael Pena. You couldn't even think of his name. You're such a disgrace.
I know, but I did it right now.
Yeah,
so.
you did.
Have you seen that movie though?
No, I haven't.
Maybe check it out.
I was thinking about the Game of Thrones. When they send him to the Watch, is that what?
Oh yeah, the Watch. Yeah. When you're like Jon Snow, you get the hell out of here. Yeah, too much sex with too many of your cousins. There's a lot of incest on that show, man.
You sounded like a New Yorker. Get the hell out of here.
Clients will randomly say, "Hey, are you from the East Coast?"
Yeah, because you're like rugged and disrespectful.
I just very like I'll just kind of curse. Well, kind of. I will curse a little bit too much, but. Are you from like? There's almost like, what's wrong with you?
It's because you bring that energy, dog.
Yeah,
that New York
we're in
energy.
Orange County. You should be. I'm like, nope.
Yeah. Are you like you like rap? You like music, right?
Uh-huh.
Are you East Coast or West Coast music? What?
Like hip hop?
Hip hop. Hippopotamus?
I want to
Big
talk.
Daddy shout out.
Yeah, that's right. Now they're Sandler. They're the same man. I love the Sandman. Yeah, man. I'm more. I don't know. It's a good question.
Biggie or Tupac?
Actually, like
You looked at me like you're like, why are you asking me this?
if I think we're gonna go into the next thing, we should wait.
Okay.
Because of something we're gonna record.
Oh.
We're not talking about the. But let's
What?
talk about. I'm trying to like. I have stuff in my head.
Okay.
In my head.
Okay.
That's like. You can't go in here, can you?
No,
you can't access these files, right?
You gotta communicate.
I'm gonna answer this question and I'm just gonna move on.
You
I'm
gotta
gonna tell you that
communicate
right now.
with me, okay?
Notorious B.I.G. Biggie Smalls.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I do. I like Biggie. I just always like his style a little bit more. But guess what, bro? East Coast, Beast Coast, biatch. Sorry, dude. I don't know what happened there.
All right.
I've already said the B-I-T-C-H word like a couple times, and we're respected professionals.
You are, yeah. You're insulting me in front of everybody.
I wanted to bring up, I've done that multiple times already in this podcast. I wanted to bring up this right now. Cinco de Mayo passed.
Here we go.
I had Montezimo's revenge.
Hey, just remember the perception you're putting out there.
I know. People are so confused by the both of us.
Yeah.
But I would say, there's always a big boxing fight around Cinco de Mayo, around that holiday. And they try to make it like a yearly thing. Like even back in the day, like Oscar de la Hoya used to have like big fights on that. And I don't know if it was always Mexican fighters, but it's usually Mexican fighters, right? So, yeah. I wanted to bring up, I didn't get to bring this up to you, but I brought up the whole, there was an interaction between Oscar de la Hoya, former world champion, Olympic boxer, I think very well known, the Golden Boy, and he came out with Golden Boy Productions.
Got that right hook, right?
Yeah.
Right or left?
I don't know. He had a jab, a pretty solid jab. I remember that.
He really beat Mayweather. We all know that.
Yeah, for reals.
Yep.
I wanted to bring it up because it actually did tie into a little bit about mental health and addiction. But whenever he was selling his fight, Canelo was fighting his guy, which I'm forgetting his name right now. I think it was like Jaime
Munguia.
Good job, man. But they had a fight, and during the press conference, because there was some resentments with De La Hoya and Canelo. And during the press conference, Oscar brought up, like, hey, and you can please add anything you want to this, but, like, he talked about, like, yes, I've been to treatment multiple times. Yes, there are times that I didn't really focus on my mental health.
He really did the B Rabbit 8 Mile, right? Like where he disses himself.
Yeah, he dissed himself. He didn't.
But he's taking accountability.
He was taking accountability in some ways. Well, no, I guess he was. Not in some ways. He was in that moment taking accountability for his past behaviors and who he was. Probably, and you and I talked a little bit about, probably doesn't have the best reputation, right?
Yeah.
I think that business-wise, I think those mental health things and the addiction things maybe have played a role in why he's had some fallouts with some well-named boxers, right?
Yeah.
And also people in the entertainment field. But he did this whole speech, and then at the end of it, it was this idea of like, Canelo, you should respect me for like what I've like given to you, right?
No, he did not say that.
Okay, please go ahead, correct me.
He looked at Canelo and said, "Put some respect on my name."
That was a lot nicer
than
what I said. Yeah,
it's different.
Okay.
So meaner than what you said.
Mine was meaner?
No, mine. Like, what Oscar said was meaner.
Yeah.
Than what you said.
Right.
I mean, when someone comes up to you and says, "Put some respect on my name, dog," or they go up to, "Hey, like, can you please just respect the work that we've done together?"
Yeah.
That's a different approach to communication.
Would you say so? Like, let's say if that was just your average Joe guy average Joe or Jane going through like a recovery, and she was going to make amends, maybe do like a step 9 or something, right? If that was your common person in real life, if that was the presentation of like, hey, I'm owning up to my mistakes, that's not the best way to like make amends, right? Yeah. I mean, what are your comments on that? Like, I last thing I'd say, and then I want to hear what you have to say. Was like my take on that was like, this idea that like people, like we deserve, they should respect us because we've done this, or let's say we fall down the mountain, we've climbed back up. It's not that you should expect the accolades. Respect. If people don't respect you, I mean, they don't have to. It comes in your time, and respecting yourself is probably the main thing. But what was your take on that interaction? What was your thoughts and feelings? And I know you're a big like Canelo fan, so I kind of was like, oh, this is a good conversation, tying in like our
I think I have a clinical take and I have a non-clinical take.
Beautiful. Let's spit it.
So like I think like non-clinically as a fan, and I think just Oscar De La Hoya he's got a lot of beef with a lot of people. Like people, like he doesn't have the best reputation, like you said. So, so that makes, I don't know what those relationships look like, but that makes me believe that people probably have a right to be upset with him, about the way he's done business. I think when you mess up as a human, and that's to be expected. But you can't expect people to like trust you again. That's not a switch that just you could turn on, like even if somebody wanted to trust him again, like it's not like they could just flip that switch on and be like, okay, I'm just going to trust you again. So I think, you own up to what you did, but the respect, put some respect on my name. Like no one owes you respect, like respect is earned. And that's my thoughts on it. Like he's got to wait for that. And if people aren't respecting him, there's something he's not doing right. And he shouldn't care what people are saying about him. Another take is that like it's promotion. You know what I mean? Like it's promoting the fight. Like and I don't know if the beef is true or not. Like it's hard to know that nowadays what's real and what's not real on TV. But yeah, it's getting a lot of clicks on YouTube and stuff. So
all pun intended. Like he had a golden like opportunity to really like kind of just be real, and it captivated me for a minute because I was like, oh wow, he's really putting himself out there as being vulnerable. I recognize like it's the fight game, it's the entertainment game, so like
I don't think it was for the right reasons though.
It was more just to take a shot.
It was more to take a shot. It was like I'm speaking up for myself because you've been talking so much crap about me, as opposed to like I want to own up to everything I've done, guys.
I totally see what you're saying, but I feel like the lead up to that, there was also like a real good like. I don't know. There was a real genuine response with that. Like I felt like he was trying to be like, yeah, I am this. I don't know. I just felt like I understand. It's like I said, it's an entertainment thing, but I feel like there was a moment of just like, I don't know. Maybe if there's any beef between you two, maybe he could have been like something. I don't know.
Yeah, there was not a lot of the humility sandwiched before that moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Before or after that moment. And so I think that's how I measure someone being vulnerable and honest is like the amount of humility that is carried even after you disclose what you disclose. Yeah. You know, you've been in group rooms, right? People can be vulnerable, but they can be vulnerable without being vulnerable. Mm-hmm. Like they can tell a story, they can talk about something they've gone through, and you can almost tell it's like something kind of off. Like you don't really connect with the feeling. You can't. For me anyway, I can't really empathize with them because something is off. Like maybe they're not coming from a good place, or they're maybe there's a secondary reason to become vulnerable, to gain attention or to gain street cred, right? I don't know. Do you ever experience? Is that something you experience in a group room? Like, can you when someone is vulnerable, when someone tells their story, like, can you tell when it's an authentic, like, I'm just trying to be vulnerable and connect and like share my story versus like maybe there's a secondary agenda happening?
Yeah. I think I could spot it.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? That's a thing in therapy, right?
Yeah. I mean, I do look for like the good and like even
you have to.
Even though I'm like what's the angle? I'm like, all right, try to remove some of those like I guess I don't want to look. I want to look like I'm on top of it. I know what I'm doing. I don't want to slip here. I want to make sure like I'm on point. Yeah. But there's always hope in the individual. I mean, that's what maybe what Oscar was like. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool, man. Like I love the message, and I was like, if it was to sell the fight, if it was just an opportunity to take a shot at the guy, I was like, oh man, what a letdown. You had me really good right there for a moment. I was like, I'm really care about you right now, and understanding about you right now. And I watched this documentary too. Have you seen the Oscar de la Hoya documentary? No. They did one on HBO. I think they broke it up into like 4 or 5 parts. It's worth the watch if you grew up watching Oscar, if you liked him, if you're a fan of him, even if you weren't. So, and there were times that was like kind of hard to, like him. So, because he just didn't come off as like, he came off as like this great athlete, and he had this incredible story, and then it's very tarnished throughout the years, unfortunately.
Right.
But and who doesn't like a good comeback, So.
Yeah. You saying a Canelo de la Hoya fight next?
I hope not. Holy shit!
Hey, look at Mike Tyson and the Paul brother. What's it?
Jake Paul.
Jake Paul.
Yeah. So
it's not Jake. It's the other guy, right?
It's Jake.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I know my Paul brothers.
My bad. I don't.
I watch Disney.
I know my Island brothers. Island boys.
We're going deeper and deeper. I think it's time that we graduate
from this conversation.
Yeah, dude. You know what I'm trying to do? Segue.
That was the best segue you've ever done.
Yeah, it wasn't that good, actually. It was pretty desperate. There was a moment when you were sharing, and I stopped lining because I was waiting.
I know, I could tell, because then I asked you a question. You're like, what?
I was like, oh, he's going to ask me a question? Thought this was your speech. We can go to the next thing.
Nachos.
So today, on Mr. Therapist and the Counselor podcast, we're going to talk about graduation here. You just dapped. Oh, man.
That gets him every time.
Let's just end
Why
the show.
Why do you hate the dap? Let's talk about it next time.
Outdated.
We'll talk about that next time.
But for end of May here, graduation time. It's a big time for a lot of people. Big transition for a lot of people.
Yep.
But I thought it'd be important to talk about here on the show. Is the idea of graduating, taking a next step in a life journey, and how that impacts people, their mental health when it comes to anxiety, a lot of different mental health ailments. Let's talk about graduation.
Cool. Yeah.
It is a huge life transition, right?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, it depends, right? Like you are transitioning, but the level of transition probably depends. Like if you're graduating from high school and going to college, if you're going to college and maybe getting your undergrad degree and then getting your master's, and then when you are graduating out of school forever, right? Like those are different experiences, I think.
Have you heard of a failure to launch?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
I totally have.
Why are you bobbing?
Oh, because actually my great opportunity. So I have an associate, and she specializes in helping people who have a failure to launch. So,
Oh wow,
yeah,
really?
Yeah.
A specialty in that.
Yeah.
You want to talk a little bit more what that means, a failure to launch?
Failure to launch, just it's like, you have an adolescent that's like not, maybe after graduation, they're not getting a job, they're kind of their development isn't happening, right? They're still living at home. They look like there's no motivation to take that next step in to the growing process, whether that's getting a good job or moving out or getting into serious with the relationship.
That person will deal like that's their main thing.
Yeah, and that's caused by a lot of anxiety, actually, and I would say even imposter phenomenon,
which we've talked about before.
Which we've talked about episode 6.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Good. I don't know.
No, I was like, wow, it's pretty good. I mean, that imposter phenomenon is basically like feeling like, you shouldn't really be in something that you're in. Yeah. It could be a job. It could be, a lot of different things, right? Like you're like, people are going to figure that out too, right?
I'm a phony,
Is it, we wrote a bunch of things on the board to discuss. Yeah. I don't know if you want to like start with one, but I think one thing that you said at the very last one that I liked was the idea of like why people go to school in the first place. Yeah. I mean, I think it's one of those things like, having a family now, it's like we've got to start saving money for our daughter to go to school. Yeah. It becomes like a priority, like going to school, at least, I don't know, in some ways assures you that like you're going to have a successful life, right? Having a good education, all those things, right? Which maybe creates pressure for people from the get-go. Some families more than others, right? But the idea of like, I could ask you like, why do people go to school? But like, what are the pressures with that? Have you experienced like clients that are like, I have to like go to school. Yeah. My parents are like have put this unwanted expectation on me. Like, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, more so what I notice is, kids who have been programmed to go to school and to go to college and to graduate to get a degree because it is the successful thing to do. It's a success pathway. Success pathway is to like get a degree. Yeah. And the issue that I see around that is that there's this expectation that once I get my degree, I'll be successful, right? And so like, I think it's the responsibility of the parents and the family to understand like, why do you want your son to get a degree? What is the purpose of the degree? And to really talk about that, especially. I can talk from my experience. Like my family my parents came from Mexico. And so coming here, their goal was to set us up for a better future. Right. And so they were going to sacrifice themselves, come to a different country where they don't speak the language, and sacrifice, leave everything behind so that we could be born here and go to school and have a degree. And why do they want that? So we can have a good job, a good paying job. Yeah. But if they don't have those conversations with us, then we're just going to think we can go get a degree in Chicano music. And like, we're going to leave school and not know like what job is going to be out there for us, right?
So a big driving factor for you was the opportunities wasn't there for your family, right? Right. Did you feel pressure with that? And the reason I bring this up too, real quickly, is that we had a guest on here a while back, and she was saying like she was like the only member of her family. Nobody in her family had ever went to college, and for her to like, she never like leaned on the idea. It was like that she wanted to like do something that her family never did. Yeah, I think it was just we didn't really explore the issue, or there wasn't even an issue. Just the want. Why did you not do it? But like when she told me that, I was thinking about this conversation. A lot of what came up for me is that like, man, I mean, like, did she see her family as being unsuccessful and getting a degree would create success for her, which her family never had, or was it almost like I'll show you? Was there like a driving factor, maybe even ego in some ways of like overcompensating of like my family doesn't think I could do this. So I'll get a degree and maybe I'll amount to this in their eyes. Once again, this person never mentioned any of this stuff, but it's kind of like something that I think does play into this whole conversation of the of the pressures of like this. So
Yeah.
for you, was there almost an expectation or demand for you to like, hey, we're giving you this opportunity that we did not have?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Totally. I think for a lot of first generation Americans, I think you have this expectation placed on you. And so, yeah, for me, I felt the pressure to have to go to school. I didn't do well in school throughout high school until my last 2 years. I started doing well. But even when I went into college, like I struggled. So I remember having a conversation with my dad, and I told him, I said, he's like, I'm so proud of you for going to college and that you're going to go to, get your undergrad.
Yeah.
And I looked at him, I said, thank you. I'm like, I'll be honest with you. Like, I'm not doing this for me. Like, I'm doing this for you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And he got kind of disappointed, and he's like, well, that's not the point. Like, this has to be for you. But I was just being honest. Like, I didn't, like, if it was for me at that point in my time, I would not went to school. I would have been happy finding like some type of trade job or something where I could, go a different direction. And then looking back, like once I got into grad school, like I was doing it for me. Yeah. Like once I got my degree, once I picked my career, I was like, okay, actually this is for me. So that did transition from, in a way, like I'm happy that my parents put that pressure on me, and I was able to make it into a good thing later on.
Was there some resentments with that then, though, for a while?
No.
Okay, no resentment. Okay.
We talked about family roles before.
Yeah.
And I feel like I kind of played that family hero role. Yeah. For my family. So like I got a lot of my self-esteem from making my family proud. So it wasn't a resentment. It was just more so like an obligation that I'm like, I have to do this. And I'm the first one in a family to go to college. And so I have to make sure that I like figure this out.
A few things are popping up when you're talking about this. It's like, it's interesting is I think there's probably some people that as a way to like, talking about family roles.
Yeah.
Some way to be like, not so much like not the scapegoat, but the what am I?
Not the black Jesse, the black sheep. You talking about?
No.
What's the comedian, the clown?
No, not the clown. The
the scapegoat. Yeah, the scapegoat.
Well, I think that I think some people in some ways like probably are put on this like, hey, we expect you to do this, but as a way to like challenge it or to rebel against it. They don't do it.
Yeah.
And even though maybe it might be in their best interest or maybe they're even really good at it, but because the family dynamic is possibly so toxic, it's almost like this is my way to get back at you. You want me to go to school?
Totally.
I'm going to do something completely different.
Totally. Yeah.
But that's also people growing up as well, though, right? It's like some people, it's laid out in front of them on what they're supposed to do. And when they're handed that, they're like, this is not my life. This is yours.
Yeah.
Kind of like almost even what you were saying with your dad, right? Like he wanted you to be this, but you're like, well, yeah, you told him like I'm doing this for you, and he was like kind of surprised and disappointed.
Yeah.
He's like, I wanted you to want it, but you got to have your own dreams, right? So
that's how it is. And it's hard for a for parents to understand that, right? Because they come in with an agenda. I don't know about you as a dad, but I already have in my head an agenda of kind of where I want me to be, and I'm very conscious of checking that because I know that it's her journey, not mine.
Yeah.
But yeah, as parents, I feel like we might do that at times, fantasize where we want our kids to be at,
right?
What we want them to accomplish, and so
I think even like at the beginning of like certain things, if it's like talking or walking and like that's already that, but just learning to curb those, I think that's really important as a parent.
This concept of like going through a transition and getting some transitional anxiety. Have you ever experienced like any of that with like a client or anything, like transitional anxiety, like having some anxiety around leaving behind the stage of life where you're at, like a graduate leaves behind their high school, their college, and going into this new stage of life?
Oh yeah, I think that I see it on all kinds of different levels. Like it could be somebody like leaving their disaster of a life and trying to get like some kind of like momentum into like a real life and like and have to deal with real feelings and real emotions. Yeah. I mean, when I say real feelings and real emotions, I mean like not masking it by using alcohol and drugs to run away from it. So I think transitional anxiety is what? It's basically transitioning into some kind of any type of new role. Could it be like a job? It could be a relationship, could be school, right? Like so I think that's
in high school in during your graduation you might experience some of that fear, right? Fear of like what's next, right? Like, or I'm not ready for this, or it might even look like I don't want this to end just yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so some of that is normal. It's part of like just leaving something and starting something new.
I was thinking about that, like those. I'm sure I've probably seen like movies or TV where you have that like. Actually, I probably experienced it even growing up, like that. You have that high school senior who keeps going up to the high school parties, wearing the Letterman jacket. He doesn't like go to school anymore, but it's like.
It's old school.
Yeah.
You're my boy, Blue.
But like that sense of just like holding on to like almost that glory of what you were at that time. And for a lot of people, like not high school, but also just college, it could be like a really like, this is a great time in my life. And now I have to transition to something that's a lot more challenging, a lot more, I don't want to say real, because all those things, college, high school, those things are real.
Well, I mean, growing up, right?
But it's growing up.
Yeah.
And it's like dealing with this.
Not ready for it.
Yeah, no, people are just kind of like, there is that sense of like, I want to enjoy my youth, to be like, and I take it for what it is like being an adult and being more grown up, and just, that's there's a lot more pressures with that.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's probably why there's a tough transition, a lot of anxiety with people that leave college, and there's like an expectation of like what's going to be next for me.
Yeah.
And you've heard of tons of people like leaving school, and like I know people that like had a degree in this, and then like when those job opportunities aren't available, or maybe even the job opportunities that are available is not really what they wanted, they're kind of like
chasing diplomas, kind of.
Yeah.
You got like the what do they call them, the professional, it's like you as a profession, you go to school kind of a thing. I forget what it's called. It's like the professional student or something like that.
Student. Yeah, that's nice. So
I think this is part of like the growing up, right? Like even like I experienced this when I graduated from my master's program.
Yeah.
It was like the last schooling I would ever have, and I didn't have any anxiety around leaving or graduating.
Yeah.
I was excited to graduate and finally be done with school. Like I'm like, dang, I did it. I got my degree. I did something I never knew I could accomplish. And like 2-3 months post graduation, I hit like I hit one of my first, I think, depressions ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I know what it was because I was going to therapy at the time, and I realized that I was missing this part of my life that I never even knew was helping me helping me build an identity for myself. I was missing the part of life that like where I had to like turn something in. I had to read something. Like I had things that were due in school, and I had these projects that I had to complete. And so based on that, I would get graded, and I'd be like, okay, I got something that I'm doing. I'm productive. I'm engaging in something, even though it was stressful. And once I graduated, I was stress free, but I was like so depressed. I was like, I'm not doing anything with my life. I remember telling my therapist, I feel like, because I couldn't express what I was feeling, and I was like, I feel like I'm in a sea of water, and there's nothing around me, and I'm in a boat, and I don't have any oars. Like I'm just there floating, and like it was just, I remember so vividly that picture, and like through the work, figuring out like, man, I really need to like have something to keep me accountable. Like I need to be aspiring towards something, or else I start getting down. Yeah.
Would that be at all like existential depression, or like you said, you used the first depression, and what existential depression would be? You complete something in your life. Maybe you've got this job you've been working for. You graduated from school,
right?
Or maybe you got into this relationship and you're married, and or even become a father or a mother, right?
Yeah.
And then it's almost somewhat of a disappointment.
Want me to give you a definition here?
Give me
It's
a
like at the
definition.
computer. Existential depression involves a fixation of life's deeper meaning or discovering your sense of purpose.
Okay.
Yeah. So it definitely sounds like it could be a part of that as well.
Yeah. You hit all these milestones. Like you graduate, right, from maybe the college that you got accepted to.
Yeah.
And it was like, and it was just like this big experience, a big moment. And then it's kind of like, where do we go from here? Like, it's kind of like we talked about, is like people are like, it's hard for them to like want to take that next step, but it's like, I did all this schooling, and it was just I don't. Yeah, it's kind of this emptiness of like, my sense of purpose.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's exactly what I remember it feeling like, and I had to find purpose again for myself. And I feel like when you transition out of school, you hit that road of like, and it's a good thing. It sucks, a shitty feeling, but like it's a good thing to go through because you really find yourself, especially if you're in therapy or if you're guided in some way through the process, so that you could refine what that purpose is for yourself.
Well, we bring up a sense of purpose and people like completing school. This is maybe a little off topic, but and I can ask you the question, and maybe you need a couple minutes to think about it. But like, maybe to our audience as well, it's like, what are your cornerstones of your self-esteem? Like, what is your driving factor that does give you purpose? And I think those cornerstones, I mean, they could change over time. You could start with like, maybe a significant other, or maybe a child, a family member. I mean, those are people and those are important corners, right? But and maybe those will always be a solid base, but I think we need more.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Not everybody. Maybe some people are just like, as long as I got that, I'm good. But in the sense of striving and continuing to like build goals and move forward in life, I think getting a sense of purpose, it's important to like establish more and more things. Like for you, when I say cornerstones of your self-esteem, do you know what those are?
Well, when you say that, what comes to my mind is, what are my values?
Yeah.
What are my guiding values that tell me that I'm doing a good job? Mm-hmm. And I think for me, it's family. For me, it is putting myself in growing through uncomfortable things, like putting myself in challenging situations.
Yeah.
And continuing to know that I'm growing, right, in some way. So I think those two, my family and continuing to grow as an individual, and actually more recently it's been like being a servant to God, to my belief, right? And so that's more recently something that I've started to tap into.
I guess for anybody,
how about for yourself?
No, I would say like family, the work I do in the sense of giving back and helping people, being of service, being creative, being able to like, do something in the art. And to me, like, I feel like this is creating like that, those things. I think those are my core things.
That's wild. If you think about, like, if you were to have 100 people in the room and you would ask that question, you think people would know?
No.
Yeah.
Because I ask that question often.
Yeah.
And I get blank stares.
Yeah.
I do. I bring it up in group therapy. And
this is important work, though. This is the stuff that really is going to help you feel good, or know exactly like who you are, what you need in life, and then how do you know that you're going in the right direction.
And like that, not to diminish people's like responses. Often it's like family, because it's a core one right there for sure. But I guess I work with so many people that have like impacted their family negatively due to like addiction issues. Yeah. It's like, well, you're not getting a lot of that. You haven't seen your daughter in 6 months.
Well, maybe they're right. It is family, but it's not going well.
Right.
Like, you know, that pillar that they're measuring the key performance by is showing that, hey, this is negative. We gotta make some changes.
Maybe maybe that is a driving factor now that they can go, hey, you know what? Like, I don't have this in my life. So like, because that person's not there and they're important to me, now I can build off of that, how I want to be better. And
actually, speaking on graduation, you know, this is a time that when you feel unsteady. You're graduating, you feel unsteady, you feel unsure, you feel uncertain. This is the time to start reevaluating, like you said, what are those cornerstones? What are those values that I need to develop for myself to guide me to my next step?
As we start to wrap this up here, I guess the main thing, like a coping skill for anybody that is like, they just graduated recently. There's almost like expectations versus reality we've discussed as well, right? So what would be something, I think that was a powerful thing, what you just said right there, but what's a good like reminder or refresher for anybody that is just entering the real world in some ways, like, and they are hit with like some disappointment? Like, what are some things to keep in mind as, you know, as they've achieved this very high, this is a very important thing in their life. It's a big deal to graduate, but there could be a little bit of drop off. Like, what would be I guess it is a coping skill. Maybe it's just a way to look at things. How would you present it?
Yeah, I think like
just based on you, like you said, your experience with your depression and like.
Yeah, when I think coping skills, it's like what can you do to kind of help you through this, and I think about like your support system, like who is there for you that you can like talk to about this, find a professional to talk to, but then there's like some like more than coping skills. I think like just remember that this is a time where expect shit to shake up a little bit for yourself. Expect to not be sure what your identity is, to not be sure, you know, where you're going in life, because it's a transition. So this is normal. And find good people that can kind of help you find yourself again, I guess. Maybe that is a therapist, or maybe it's a good friend, maybe it's a parent. But find that support system for yourself through this time.
And that's how we end Mental Health Awareness Month, right?
Damn,
it's a solid one. So,
yeah. All right, cool, man.
Thank you, my friend.